Welcome, DoD Innovators. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Colonel Ryan Kehoe, the Deputy Chief Data and AI Officer here in the Pentagon, and I will be your moderators for today's Innovation Connect. Before we introduce today's speakers, though, please allow me to cover a few housekeeping items. If you are not the presenter, please keep your camera off and your microphone on mute. If there is a hot microphone while our speakers are presenting, we ask that you please allow our moderators the chance to mute that microphone. Otherwise, you may inadvertently mute the speakers themselves. Also, please limit your questions to this topic and avoid any media-related inquiries or promotions of your company or organization. And finally, if you can post questions for our presenter in the chat window, and then either the presenters or the moderators will read the questions aloud. So today's exclusive presentation features key leaders and activities from our very own operations directorate within the CDAO. The data operations team will provide insights on the Vault data platform, which is the Department of the Air Force's premier cybersecure cloud-based tool that enables airmen and guardians to connect, find, share, and learn from DAF data. It is therefore my distinct pleasure to introduce two of our very own, Lieutenant Colonel William Parker and Mr. Jay Roberts. Colonel Parker is our Director of Vault Data Platform Operations, and in this role, he manages the DAF's cloud-based multi-tenant data and cutting-edge analytic tools platform, which powers over 100 joint tenant organizations and their staff, and we currently have over 1,600 users. Colonel Parker's previous assignments include serving as the Operations Assessment Team, or OAT Team Chief, for the Strategy Division of the 609th Air Operations Center at Al Udeid Air Base. In this capacity, he led multiple deployed teams of military operational research analysts to provide the United States Air Force Central Command metrics and assessments of combat effectiveness metrics and assessments of air campaigns, combat operations and support of named combatant command operations, and delivered and crisis action planning utilizing effects-based methodology and planning and operations. Additionally, he integrated assessment plans with the United States Central Command headquarters. Colonel Parker's analyses also provided strategy recommendations to the Combined Forces Air Component Commander for combat plans, operations, and air allocation for the United States and coalition forces. Our second guest today is Mr. Jay Roberts. He's an operation research analyst with us here in the DAF CDAO, and he began his DAF career with us in the May of 2019 as an intern within the Premier College Intern Program, better known as PCIP. During this internship, he worked in the CDAO Operations Directorate as a data scientist, where the main project that summer was the use case in small business procurement fraud. After the 3-month internship, he returned to complete his undergraduate degree at the University of, at Washington and Lee University, and returned to the CDAO again in August of 2020, this time as a Palace acquired intern, or as a PAC intern. During his tenure as a PAC, Jay worked primarily with our use case and Vault data platform teams, and we were happy to hire Jay on in a full-time capacity, and he is now our Vault technician lead within the CNDO division. So we're excited to hear from our distinguished speakers today. So with that, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Colonel Kehoe, and thank you everyone for attending this session. It's a good honor to be a part of this team. This is probably the best job I've had in my career in the Air Force, with stuff that's taken us to the next level as far as data analytics. When I first started, people asked me, hey, can you start crunching some numbers on this? And it was basically on data that we already had in-house. Now we got data that's everywhere, and to be able to reach those and find those entry points to get that data, it's just such a big hill to climb. So hopefully what we show you today will show you what we're trying to do to make that hill a lot easier to climb for our users and our stakeholders. So without further ado, just to give you a little overview of what we talk about, just some foundational and overview of information about Vault, the tenant space offerings that we offer, a really unique capability that we have on Vault is to bring your own tool or technology, give you an overview of what the process flow is like for that, data provisioning, and our roadmap for the future. Could we go to the next slide, please? So the DAF, or the Department of the Air Force's visible, accessible, understandable, linked, and trustworthy data platform, or Vault data platform, lets service members use cloud-based tools to work on data. We all feel on our team, data is a team sport, and we can't do this without our partners in the field, our vendors that we work with as well. So what we do, we take Vault a step further and make it more interoperable and secure to get the Vaultis aspect of what we do. As you look and see what our vision is for Vault, we're just trying to match our users' needs with innovation. And for our mission, we want to empower and posture the DAF to harness the data for competitive military advantage. And our strategic goals are threefold. We lead, we want to be the catalyst, and we want to drive. We want to improve that effectiveness of decisions, our readiness, mission operations, and cybersecurity. We will like to pursue automating data centricity at scale to solve problems or handle larger volumes of data. And also for drive, we want to have that right combination of the state-of-the-art technologies that's needed to best utilize data. To focus on our customer, our platform's foundation is built on 3 core policies and directives. The Department of Defense data strategy, basically what it boils down to is data is a strategic asset. Next, your CDO, data service reference architecture, talks about scalability to be able to handle larger loads as we get more and more information. The Air Force data management policy, basically bolstering data sharing. Evolution and growth for the platform over the last 5 years has blossomed. I've only been on this team since July of last year. And the Vault data platform is a cloud-based platform, and we're able to provision Vault accounts using the user's CAC with automated provisioning. Vault has proved crucial when the COVID pandemic hit. The platform enabled our airmen and guardians, DAF, to do work at the lowest level classification possible, and then push it up to a classified environment if needed. So Vault has around 16,000 accounts. Right now we got 12,000 plus because we want to make sure we have at least a bottom line that we're trying to baseline our facts here. But we have 124 tenants. Right now we're currently on Nipper and Sipper. JWIX is something that we are striving to have in the future. We have over 20 bring your own tools or BYOTs that are deployed onto Vault. And Jay Roberts will go over this when he gets his part of this briefing to give you a little bit more insight on what that's all about and how we engage with our customers to bring additional tools onto Vault. Again, 120 data feeds. We're always receiving requests to add additional data feeds, and this is one of the things that we need to do to prioritize when we're working on data pipelines. And we have over 473 million data files and nearly 1,600 terabytes of data storage. Core capabilities. For each Vault user, there are a set of core capabilities that are in place. So as we start from infrastructure at the bottom of this presentation, all the way around in internet tools. So we start with infrastructure. The Vault data platform, as I mentioned, is a cloud-based platform, and you're able to provision your account using your common access card, your CAC. We are aligned with Platform One, and is intended to be a self-service platform where we provide the enterprise tools, which we'll go over later, and the data that you can develop algorithms within the platform to be able to use the enterprise tools. So over to data. Within the infrastructure that Vault provides, our users are enabled with data access and visibility through data pipelines. automated data acquisition, and data curation and analysis through the provisioning of enterprise and bring your own tools, the tool suite. And Vault implements data controls in order to properly manage access to limited distribution data through roles and through roles-based access control. And we are implementing attributes-based access control, or ABAC. Cybersecurity. Vault has different overlays on our data so that if something is limited visibility like PII, PHI, or law enforcement type data, there are different security overlays that handle who can see that data. Head over to tools. We have approximately 20 enterprise tools that permit anything from data curation to developing algorithms. Around all of this, we have our ATOs on both NIPR and SIPR that we're currently keeping up to date for the Vault Data Platform to ensure that we are following the guidelines when we bring something into Vault. We want to make sure it's secure, that the data is secure. Mission support, we have around 124 tenants, where each tenant has a different mission needs and use case. We have divided up these tenants so that they use the tools they need for their respective mission and use that data in different ways to solve various problems. So this slide here, it talks about the architecture and composition of the Vault Data Platform. It's comprised of infrastructure data and the different tools. And as you look from the left side of this slide here, users access the Vault through the F5 security boundary and will land at the web top for the Vault Data Platform portal. From there, users will be able to see the tools that are available to utilize. When users come into the Vault Data Platform, they can get an account created, and if needed, you can set up a tenant space to be able to have groups of people come in and work on that data and collaborate on that data. Within the tenant spaces, there in the center here, we have 3 types of tenants. From left to right, we have full, standard, and light, tenant light. So full, you can have access to any of the enterprise tools, but also access to Zeppelin on EMR with lots of more capabilities. Standard, you get access to Jupyter Hub to do a little bit more things. And light is more of a scaled down tenant bucket. There's a web top to get to as well. So regardless of what tenant level you have, each tenant can access those enterprise tools from Tableau to Plotly. So from a Vault Data Platform perspective, we want to make sure that whether you're doing data or modeling, the users have the tools that they need to do what they need to do within the Vault. We've selected different tools there on the right. This is just a snippet of different things from Databricks, as I mentioned, Tableau as well, GitLab. So we understand that sometimes enterprise tools that we have to offer here may not scratch the itch. And so it may not have the capability that our users may need. And so what I mentioned to you earlier, we have the ability to bring your own tool. In the BYOT process, we have different lanes that Jay will talk about that you can get into, and depending on your application and what it looks like and how it conforms to what we need things to look like as far as security and whatnot, it will be much faster of a process to get that tool in, and it may require a little bit more technical work. It all depends on what it looks like. And Jay will go over it with some more details there. So one of the great things about Vault, when we get access to data, we put it in the Vault data area. This area treats all data as DAF enterprise resource. So other than PI, PHI, or law enforcement data that have that limited visibility and dissemination, users have access to any of the data within this space in a timely manner to be able to do the things they need to work on. So to get data into this area, we work with various organizations and other platforms that we'll talk about later in this presentation that own that data, okay? We have a prioritized list of what we're working to bring that data into the vault. So once it's into the vault, it becomes an enterprise resource, and any vault users will have access to that data. So application programming interface, or API gateways. So as we are moving forward and trying to make Vault interoperable with other platforms, we want to make sure that we have a way to share that data and get data from other places. So without further ado, I want to introduce Jay Roberts, who will talk to you a little bit more about the Bring Your Own tool.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Jay Roberts. I was looking through the people list. I've probably connected with most of you, either through Teams or on LinkedIn. It's good to have you guys here. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, we're going to dive into some details about, current processes on Vault, including BYOT, but it's not just limited to BYOT. We do more than BYOT. And I'll also talk about some of our dev efforts that we've supported, given some gaps that we've had on the Vault. And yeah, so we'll start with BYOT though. So, what can I say about BYOT? It is our biggest strength, and it is also our biggest weakness. We've had, from my perspective, a tremendous amount of success with BYOT, but with lots of success, what does that come with? Well, that comes with responsibility, and that success leads to more and more adoption, and our adoption. So our request number of our BYOT request queue has grown, but the personnel that are doing the tools and installing the tools and doing the hard work that it takes to manage these tools has not grown. So, we're challenged each and every day. So what does that mean for us? We have to uniquely and we have to carefully prioritize, what's in our queue and really go after things that's going to be good for the Vault at an enterprise level. We've grown from, just in my experience since August of 2020, we've grown from, I think, 15 tenants, 15 give or take, to over 124, the number that you've heard, earlier today. So that's a significant amount of growth. And so now, we've turned into one of these like big fish per se. So we have to be very careful about what we prioritize and what we move forward on. But, like I said, we've BYOT, I think, is what probably put us on the map. And we're thankful for that. So these are, some of the vendors that we've worked with. These are some of the capabilities and tools that we've deployed. These are, some very mission critical partners that we've had: A1, SAF CDM, SAF MG, the data fabric that should probably say AFRL, or the CAO, the former Chief Architect's Office, which migrated to C3BM, I think. But and also iTips, that's actually SAF CN proper. So we've had a lot of success, and excited to talk to you about this today. Okay, so we try to include, we try to give you the answers to the test a little bit up front. I will say that this process isn't perfect. We're always trying to modernize this process, and in fact, we're really trying to push to the left the technical specs, the technical information. We're trying to look at ways to empower our vendors and our users and our partners on actually doing the deployments themselves. The problem with that is, because we have such a queue, it's hard for us to carve out time to be able to modernize, specific pipelines that we could make better and streamline due to resource constraints. So we So this is the process as it is today. But again, we are trying and working to modernize our pipeline so that we can empower users and give them more fidelity and more granularity in their permissions and how they deploy their own tools, to get them more hands-on access per se. So, today we start with a business case, and that business case really, is what I'm talking about when I say things like, carefully prioritization. Does this capability already exist in the Vault Data Platform? Is this a gap that we currently have? Is this something that is even feasible given, where Vault is from a maturity perspective? How much funding is involved? What sort of compute and store constraints are there? An alignment to where our roadmap is. It could be that the tool is awesome. We're just not, working on that, in our current, roadmap. And you'll actually see the roadmap later. It's a working version. We didn't have time to finalize it before this. From there, once the business case is approved, we can move forward with the technical information, and that's kind of looking at what the deployment type is. We'll talk about this more specifically in the next slide, but what the deployment type is, what kind of infrastructure, how complex is it, does it align with our ATO? What country was it developed in? All of those sorts of things we're looking at, and we have our technical team engaged for a lot of that rich information so that we can, essentially prioritize, or not necessarily prioritize, but establish tasks and things going from that. And that's how we build our stories according to the information, the agile stories, according to the information that's there in the technical evaluation. And then, we're able to give leadership an idea of how long it's going to take and what kind of hours we're looking at, what sort of resource we're going to expend, or those types of things. Of course, that kind of leads us directly into the cost assessment for, those stories are really what we use to establish those costs. What kind of personnel we need, what the compute store implications are, all of those things. Okay. And from there, it really is an iterative process. So once we're able to clear it and make sure that it's going to do more good for the platform than harm, we're able to kind of move forward and start, iterating with the vendor, the contractor, the government entity, whoever it may be, in getting the tool onto the platform. All right, so this is definitely a work in progress. This came out of, I'm thankful for the system integrator that we've had. We've got some really smart folks there, and they've done a great job. And one of the challenges that they were able to communicate to our team, to the gov team, is how much time we spend and what the variables are that can contribute to that time and resources. So we started talking about fast lanes, and really the primary driver, the primary question is this in Kubernetes or not? We have a large Vault is moving towards cloud native only applications, and we want to make sure that we're moving forward in a way that allows us to scale. I talked about resource constraints. Well, one way for us to get around that is to ensure that our automations are up to par. And with that kind of leads us in the Kubernetes direction, because we have a fairly well-established run rules and playbooks with our Kubernetes cluster and so on and so forth. So that kind of is the primary question. And then, from there, it kind of leads on down that, I call it a decision tree. That really, I think there's some more here. I think even I mentioned that we're in work, so we're continually trying to modernize this kind of decision tree so that we're informing our customers and partners of where our heads are at whenever we are making decisions and coming up with costs and all of that good stuff, and aligning resources and all of that. So these are sort of the answers to the tests on the technical pieces. We've established 7 lanes. So if you're in lane 1, that's going to be the slowest lane, and if you're in lane 7, that's going to be the fastest lane. And there are some other considerations that we have to adhere to, but we try to communicate those up front and adhere to this decision tree. All right, so I mentioned that we do other things other than BYOT. Well, you may or may not know this, but we are the Vault data platform. So we try. Historically, I think we have focused a little bit more on the tool pieces, and we fortunately over the past, I want to say, year and a half or so, we've developed a team and we've really looked at how do we modernize data and really apply the Vaultus principles to data that resides within the Vault. And again, I'm thankful for the technical guys that we have working on the platform, because we were able to take some requirements, loose Vaultus requirements, and really apply them to what the Vault needed to do to modernize. And I'll be the first to tell you that we're not there yet. But I will say that we've taken a significant step in the right direction. We're thinking about things in the right way. And this pipeline, I think, is proof of that. We're at acquisition, we're looking at capturing metadata. We're looking at automating, the pipeline for our partners. Envision is another DAF data platform, and they provide a lot of data to the Department of the Air Force, and the Vault is a consumer of a lot of their data products that they have. So we understood that, we see them as an asset, and we're able to leverage that. So we actually have a catalog item today that I do see a question. I think I was instructed to hold things to the end. So if you would kindly we can wait till the end, if that'd be great.
Affirmative. If they have a question, please insert it into the chat window. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So at acquisition, we're looking at establishing and getting metadata and really looking at how to make these automated and really self-service. That self-service is that component that we're or really goal that we're always striving for. Right now it may be manual, but tomorrow our goal is to make it self-service. We want all of these things to flow right into one another with automated triggers, so that data scientists, ops researchers, data engineers, ML engineers, you name it, are able to do their work. So that's what we do at acquisition, and then that actually flows into a DMZ for us. So we have a requirement on our ATO to ensure that anything that enters our security boundary from a data perspective is scanned, and that's what this demilitarized zone is. When that data enters into the Vault data platform, it's immediately scanned, and so that's a gate per se. And then once it passes that gate, if it passes that gate, we're moving on into a more permanent location within the Vault, and we try to make sure that the data lands where it's supposed to land. So what I mean by that is, if it's raw data, we're going to make sure that it lands into a raw area. If it's something more of the curated fashion, like kind of what we get from Envision, then it lands in something that for a more, it lands in an area where a more curated data product should land. And that kind of leads me into promotion. So what is promotion? Well, we have a lot of good work going on in the Vault data platform and folks that are using, organizations that are using our tools to build these data products. And I guess that leads to a question of, like, I've been saying data product, but what exactly does that mean? Well, a data product is anything that you can build on top of data. So that includes dashboards, that includes machine learning algorithms, that includes, more filtered data with, built-in business rules. If you have financial, it doesn't have to be just financial data, any type of data with applied business rules, gold tables that are visualization ready per se. Data that's been curated enough to where you can apply it into a machine learning model. All of those are data products, and we have to start looking at data as products and then cataloging them and promoting them within the Vault Data Platform. Because what we ultimately, our end goal is to have, let me say an example. Some person who is at AFIMSC and he has a great Tableau dashboard that should be shown to the 3-star at AMC or AFMC, and I may have said that wrong in terms of how many stars those major commands have, but the point is that we want those to be shared, we want those to be cataloged, and we want those to be enterprise shareable. And if there is stakeholders that should be seeing this data product, then we want that to be available. And that's at the heart of promotion. And we're working continuously on ensuring that our customers and our data engineers and the folks that are doing the hard work in the Vault are able to promote their products at an enterprise level. Okay, and then that moves us into enrichment. So enrichment, what is that? Well, that's kind of what I was talking about with our data products. We're continually, it's a process. A data pipeline is a process, and our job as the Vault is really to enable, so to give you access to data, to do some minimal transformations to that data, and then allow the customers and the data engineers and the downstream data scientists and ML engineers to do the cool things that they do with the data that the Vault is providing them. So data maturation, data curation, all of the enrichments that can be applied to different data stacks and data sets. That's what we're talking about. And notice the cyclical nature. So there may be in any given pipeline, there may be 3, 4 things that are being promoted at a time: an ML algorithm, a gold refined trusted table, and a dashboard that connects all 3 of those. And egress, this one is in progress, totally in progress. We're not at a scalable place for this yet. However, there's some good work going on in the Vault to make this better. And the goal for us is to really have all of these available via an API. So we want folks on Envision, we want folks on Blade, we want folks at Tinker or running things on their desktop to be able to interact with Vault data and Vault data products, and that's ultimately our goal. And if we need to share a larger workload or a larger data set, we have capabilities of being there's a Vault. All of this is really orchestrated through our data catalog, and we went through some pretty strenuous testing for a product known as Data Hub, and we found it to be extensible, and we found it to really tie together these different microservices, and that's what we're using today. And the goal is to continually update Data Hub so that users can find data and discover data and interact with data via our data catalog. Okay. So I talked a lot about what we're using to capture and promote, and how to make that enterprise shareable and ready. And these are really how we do so. It's through metadata, data about data, and we kind of have 3 phases of this. They're known as min cubed, min squared. That min, the 2 there should be as an exponent. And then min metadata, and these are our it's kind of a life cycle, really. So min cubed, what does that mean? That is the minimum amount of data that we have to capture up front. Like, these are the things that if you want to come on Vault, notice, yeah, if these are the things that you want to come on Vault, you need to have these so that we can have, that discoverability piece. Min squared, that adding there. So once we have data that is loaded into the vault, and we found the right data owners, the right data stewards, we're able to supplement that min cubed with min squared and min metadata. So we try to apply these across our pipeline, and some of these are applied at acquisition, and some of these are applied at promotion, but we're working on automating these and ensuring that customers can interact with their data products in Data Hub and ultimately make updates to their metadata. Sweet. Okay. So for the Vault Data Platform and how it interacts with the Big Six. So we are very much a part of the Big Six. We are unique in the sense that we are directly out of the CDAO. So our CDAO, Ms. Vadreen, had a vision for Vault. I want to say, if we went back to the timeline slide, it would tell us, I think, 2018. And, we've grown into who we are today. And there were other platforms that were spun up to address mostly by domain, their data problems and adoption of cloud services and their answer to become, mission ready. So, we see Blade there, and Blade is actually a tenant on an OSD platform called Advana. And then there's, and that's A4 logistics, and UDL is our space data platform. Elixir is our cyber, is the cyber platform. Cygnus has been developed by I believe the intelligence community, or ISR at least. And Envision is another platform that is actually out of the CDAO as well, and it is it's a different flavor, way different flavor of Vault, but similar mission set, in the sense that Vault and Envision are sort of, we're not domain. I want to be careful about what I say, but we're not domain driven. We support use cases across personnel, finance, logistics, all of those domains and functional communities have stake. Our stakeholders on both of these platforms. The main difference, I would say, is Vault is it's not exactly a platform as a service, but that kind of is the right way to think about it, in the sense that you have to build your own data pipelines and data products using our tool sets that we have. Envision is more of a SaaS type of capability. So they provide you a software as a service that allows you to do work on data. So we support many data connections amongst these platforms. We're constantly trying to modernize and think about ways that we can get better at sharing data, sharing metadata across these different platforms. We have different connection types. What I'll say about the connections type is these are our current connection types. We recognize that some of these may not be optimal for advancement or for some of the problem sets that we're going to be venturing into, like streaming and edge capability. So this is a running list, and we're going to continue to get better at with different services and capabilities there. The end game here is federation. We want to be able to federate, meet the intent of 8320, and make data available to any of the platforms. Envision could be a person's platform of choice. Well, it should not be a barrier. If Vault has data that Envision does not, it should not be a barrier for that Envision user to grab data from Vault. So that ultimately is the vision, and that's what we're going for. Okay, yeah. So we're working on automating. We're expanding to support API connections. Yeah. Okay. So these are our foundational capabilities that we're really targeting currently. Spaces that we can get better, opportunities to really cover some gaps that users are experiencing on our platform. That's actually one piece that I don't feel we've covered very well today, and that's that we really try to be customer focused. I can't tell you how many times I've been looked at as the smart guy with some idea, only because I took what a customer said and was like, oh wow, that's actually a pretty good idea, and then went and said it in some meeting in the Vault meetings. I can't even tell you how many times that's happened. So we welcome feedback, and and not only good feedback. I mean, trust me, I like the good feedback, but we also welcome bad feedback, where gaps that we can get better, and we really try to take those inputs and use them and drive our architecture according to what users want, because ultimately those are our users are the ones that are doing the work. We're providing the platform, but they're creating the dashboards, they're creating the machine learning algorithms, all of those data products for senior leaders to make decisions and to drive decision superiority. So and that's where we got these VDP foundational capabilities, is really because users have asked for them. I mean, certainly some of them are being driven at the senior leadership level, like ICANN and Zero Trust, APIs, and aligning that with Zero Trust. Data tagging comes from the DoD 83.8320. So that's what's driving this list. This list isn't, what I'll say in its final state. We're constantly looking at what we can do better to do these. And what I'll say about these foundational capabilities is that's really what we're driving towards in our roadmap. So, and that's actually where we're headed to next with Colonel Parker. So I'm gonna leave you guys here and hand this on to Colonel Parker to talk about what's to come in the next 6 months. Thank you, guys. Colonel Parker, over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Next slide, please. So this is more of an eye chart. What we try to do is for our users and our stakeholders, we started this past spring to develop a roadmap, and we'd like to update it every 6 months on that type of cadence to ensure that we're working towards a level of artificial intelligence or AI readiness that signifies that we can have the appropriate people and the processes, as well as the Vault data platform in place and primed to incorporate AI into the nucleus of what we do at the CDAO. On a seamless operational basis. Here are 4 things that we are looking at: data pipelines, data sharing, the BYOT process and the deployments of those tools, as well as the evolving our platform. So specifically for data pipelines, we want to make sure that we keep working on those data tagging, the promotion, integration, and transformation of data, automate that pipeline process and modernize the acquisition of that data, being able to better enable that flow of data from the application over to it, the data warehouse, or what you would call a data lake, or over to our platform to make it more seamless interaction behind the scenes. For data sharing, that's more per our core policy that I mentioned earlier in regards to the Air Force data management policy that emphasizes the sharing of data. We try to do this by honing in and developing those API gateways and integration of that. As far as data cataloging, organizing that inventory of data assets within each organization that we work with, from a financial management perspective, for financial data to aircraft maintenance data, you name it. We want to make sure we can continue to work with our partners. Again, this is a team effort. BYOTs and deployments, our tenant tools upgrades, enterprise tool upgrades. We also work with Rhombus Guardian for the deployments of their tool. They have one that a lot of the MAGCOM senior leaders love as far as a senior leader dashboard that gives them a lot of situational awareness at their fingertips. Appian upgrades, Appian sells platforms as a service for building our enterprise software applications. And last, evolving our platform. That FinOps management, what we mean by that is, FinOps, that evolving cloud financial management discipline as we are transitioning the vault over into a program office. So I like to say that we're doing the right things right now with the Vault Data Platform, and we want to ensure that we're also doing things the right way. The programmatics aspect of what we're doing, we're trying to make sure we hone in this evolution of the platform to have better FinOps management, modernizing our tenant stacks, our governance improvements for BYOTs. You just can't imagine how many requests from service users that ask, hey, I got this, new tool that I would like to add. Can you help us out? And we have such a backlog right now because, as Jay mentioned, it is our biggest strength, yet it could be also our biggest weaknesses because we are a lean team for the Vault Data Platform, and we have a lot of users and stakeholders that we have to take care of each and every week. There's always something you can imagine managing the platform. Okay, in summary, again, Vault. Vault stands for visible, accessible, understandable, linked, and trusted. Okay, the Vault Data Platform enables the provision of key enterprise tools. It supports just over close to 16,000 accounts, 120 data feeds, and we provide a unique mission focus for users through the BYOT process. This is what we like to use as a what was normally called the Moroni label, or that window sticker that you see on cars that shows the manufacturer's suggested retail price, that MSRP about the engine, the transmission, specification. This is what we try to show at the last part of our presentation that shows you how to access Vault. There on the left, on the Nipper side and Sipper side. Again, this is kind of like our Vault, the window sticker for Vault. And here's our contact information. For those who want to contact us, if we can't get to your questions today, we'd like to be able to get to you as soon as we can.
All right, Colonel Parker, Mr. Roberts, thank you for the presentation. We've had quite a few questions that have come in via chat, so we'll start to field those now, and I'll read them off to you as we go along. So when I offer the question, either yourself, Will, or Jay are free to answer the question. So, all right. So the first question is from Blake Brown. They ask, does Vault currently support IMDS data? Potentially looking to connect IMDS to the Tableau dashboard.
Hey, it's Jay. I believe that the answer to that question is yes. And I believe that you can, tap that into Tableau. I will also mention that it is available in Envision. So if what I said was incorrect and IMDS is not available in the Vault, it is a pretty quick request to be able, for us to be able to work that with Envision and make that available to you in Vault. So I think either way you go about it, whether it's on Vault or request it through Envision, I think there's a solution space for you. Over.
So Jay, a follow-on question to that: if Blake wants to follow up on that, what's the best way to do so? Submitting a ticket within Vault, reaching out to you directly? How should they go about doing so?
Yes, sir. That's a good question. So where I would start is probably in Data Hub. So our data catalog, I would, probably go in there, type in IMDS, see if you get a hit. If you do not, then I would recommend looking, possibly submitting a ticket to ask that very question. Is this something that's been cataloged? And simultaneously you can look at that in Envision and ensure that it's there as well. So I think that should cover it. And then, if you need any escalation or anything else, feel free to reach out to myself or I can have somebody from the team, reach out as well. Over.
Okay, thanks, Jay. And it looks like somebody may have added in the comments about IMDS. Let me go back and look real quick. Captain Smith said IMDS is both Vault S3 bucket and Envision. Connecting to Tableau is only possible in Vault. Envision does not push data to the Tableau server. Thank you, Captain Smith. Okay, question 2. Questions are just on in, fellas. So we'll field as many as we can in the time frame that we have. All right, this next question is from Donna Barty. She asked, does everyone have access to every data feed? If not, how is the access controlled? And you guys hit on this a little bit, but it's worth foot stomping.
Sure. So I can take that one. So for there are what we consider to be data lake items. So things that are not things, data that is available to you by default. And then there are items that are going to be more IL5. So, those would be things like PII, PHI, things that have national security implications. And those are controlled, at the underlying technology really is role-based. So, if you have a particular attribute associated with your organization, say PII, you can access those data types, assuming that you have, that attribute and have a need to know for that information. But it is a role-based implementation as of right now. Over.
Okay, thanks, Jay. This next question is from Catherine Varley. Is there a governance documentation available for Vault?
I'm sorry, the question was, is there a governance document?
Governance documentation is what Catherine used.
Documentation. Yeah, so the answer to that question is yes. And I would say this is one of the things that we need to get better at is some governance is what I'll call user facing. And that really, lies within our ServiceNow or our help desk implementation. ServiceNow is the implementation, the tool. And then we also have further governance items that we have that are kind of Vault team sensitive. That we maintain in our Confluence and Jira tools. So there's kind of two pieces, and we choose when to publish something that's more user facing and something that versus something that's more like Vault team centric. But so no single document, but there is a collection of documentation, as that's definitely the right word to use there. Over.
Okay, question 4 is from John Brockman. How do your data access controls integrate with the enterprise ICAM strategy?
I take a stab at that, Jay. I know we're working towards that attributes-based access control, but we try to stay within the lines of making sure those data that is limited visibility or the LIMDIS type data is protected, and only the folks that have the need to know get that, but we're striving towards getting the attributes-based access control honed into what we do and how we do it.
Okay, thanks, Will. All right, next question from Gary Walker. What is the current cost structure for utilizing Vault? I think they mean from a user perspective, not from a, not from an enterprise perspective, but that does tie into another question, trying to find it. That's from Catherine Varley as well. Is Vault funded by CDAO? Should users expect a fair share bill in the future? So both of those are hitting on, what does it cost a user currently, and what will it cost in the future? If you want to talk to current user cost, I can talk to future user cost.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I know what we work with our partners. When I mention partners, mostly in this regard for compute and store costs, we kind of in the past and currently even now we're trying to go towards something different, is to be able to share the cost of the technical depth costs over with our users and our stakeholders. And most, if not all of them, have shared the sentiment that they're willing to help us out with that, because it's just important, and they know that the CDAO just can't foot the bill any further as we were doing in the past.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say I'll add to that. So remember, we're a cloud native platform, so we're able to, with appropriate tagging, we're able to charge back pretty much exactly. I say pretty much exactly, there is some estimation that's going on. It really is dependent on how granular the customer wants to get with the pricing. But essentially, what you're paying for is the compute and store underneath the hood. That is a current, that you're using whenever you're running, data science work. So, we have a product called Databricks. Databricks is run on top of EC2 instances. The charges that you get are the compute, the compute that comes along with those EC2 instances, and that can be that logic there, what I just described, can be applied to all of the different services. So, if you have a capability that's running on an RDS, you're paying that compute and store for that RDS, and so on and so forth. And we're working on modernizing a process on particular tenants. We have tenants today that are helping us and funding their own tenant spaces on an annual basis. Over.
Okay, and then I think I would piggyback on the future cost model. So this has had a very large enterprise funded component up to the current fiscal year, which is FY24. As we have developed POM requirements through the corporate process, that has been eye-opening what this continues to cost, and if we continue to grow, what it will cost going throughout the FIDEP. So we've been directed to develop a cost model, a cost share model from FY26 and beyond, possibly starting as early as FY25 for the level of user that you are. That is what we are currently working through right now, because the corporate process has said that we can't afford to fund this ever growing demand signal at the enterprise level for into the current FIDEP and future FIDEPs. So they want us to develop that cost share model, and that's what we're doing. And we will more than likely release that cost model within our data and AI board, and potentially in a future innovation connect as well. I'm not sure if that's the best place to do it, but we will definitely share it with our users once that is developed. Okay, all right, thank you. And the next question is name is not listed, but they are asking how are Python and R packages vetted?
Yeah, so so right now we do allow for folks to reach out to, you know, some repositories like PyPy and Hugging Face and such. We're currently, you know, that's actually a hot topic currently, and we're working on, you know, a way to securely scan those in a way that's automated, to minimize customer both confusion and annoyance by having to you know, request for a package to be installed. So yeah, so we're actually working on an implementation right now that does that kind of securely scan. But you know, to answer the question honestly, and is that we don't. But you know, only certain you know, repos are whitelisted per se. Now, that is not true on the you know, higher, you know, classifications. There's a process that we go through to migrate those up to classified realms. Over.
Okay, this next question is from Tracy. Tracy, I apologize. I'm going to butcher your last name. Rusal. She's asking, is Vault data storage or full access? Is it interconnected to all the other lakes so we don't have to log into every other lake? Or does having access to Vault not necessarily provide access to those other lakes?
I think Dr. Rousseau's question is really getting at, you know, what we intend for the DAF data fabric to be. I wish that all of Envision's data was automatically available to Vault, but it currently, as it sits right now, it is not, and that really so. And I say data fabric, I want to be very careful about using that term. I think, you know, there's a difference that we misconstrue between meshes and data fabrics. But so I'm going to speak about a data mesh. I think, you know, in our data mesh implementation that the DAF is I think looking at and having, you know, lots of governance groups about, working groups about. I think that problem is really going to be, you know, addressed with that implementation. So the answer to the question is no. Right now, there is a select few of, you know, data sources out there that are available to Vault. If there's an API, you know, available, then for the most part, assuming, you know, there's a whitelist and such, we're able to reach out and grab that data. Envision is one of those that actually we can from an API perspective, but by default, not all of, you know, Envision's data is available to a user on Vault. And you know, that what I just said and what I described is true for pretty much all the platforms that provide analytics services.
Right. That is definitely, you know, the vision and end state that we seek. But right now, we are not that mature across all the platforms to have, you know, a single login and be able to access all of the platforms that are out there. Okay, the next question is from Catherine again. How many of the data feeds from systems are automated or updated routinely?
I'm just going to assume that question is talking about like Vault specifically. I think right now we are at 50% of all data within the Vault being cataloged and updated on a recurring basis. And now that we finally and we have targeted, you know, we're targeting, you know, in the next months to be at 100%. And so we had to look at this in two ways. So we pretty much had to turn on the service midstream. So we were taking legacy technical debt and building something that was new. So we had to look at it in two facets. So we solved the problem for any new acquisitions. So any new acquisition of data that's occurred over the last 2 months, we could say definitively that they are, there's recurring updated connection happening, metadata updates and all of that good stuff. And then we had to look at all the data that already was within Vault. And then, we had to catalog that data. So to that end, I say about 50%, 50 maybe to 60% of all data within the Vault is being updated in the catalog and on a recurring basis. Over.
Okay, thanks, Jay. We actually have 2 questions that are related to infrastructure and the tech stack. Given this is an open forum and we don't have positive ID on everybody that's on, I don't think we can go into infrastructure and tech stack in this forum. If you have a question about that and would like to dive further, I'd ask that you contact us individually via email, and we could set up potential follow-on on infrastructure or tech stack. Okay, next question is related to BYOT from John Brockman. He asks, who is responsible for securing the new tooling? The user, i.e. the customer, or the Vault, as in the Vault program team, platform team?
Colonel Kehoe, was that the BYOT question? Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. For BYOT, who is responsible for securing the new tooling? Is it the customer or is it the Vault team?
Okay. Like I said, it's a team effort. We work with that user that's requesting this tool, and we work with the vendor or whoever it is that produced and developed that tool, and we try to get the iron out all the kinks. If not, if it's more of a straightforward Kubernetes type setup, then it's a lot quicker. But as far as securing it, it's basically a team effort. We go over a few things. We show to the developer different things that need to be mitigated and true, but that developer and that user that wants it needs to kind of, not necessarily the user, but the developer needs to kind of work on how they're going to mitigate those vulnerabilities that we found. Over.
I'll add to that, sir. For all of our implementations, we do require that there's an Air Force stakeholder. So we try to get out of the game of anybody and all coming to deploy their stuff on our platform. We really try to enforce that gate there, that there's an Air Force stakeholder that's willing to fund and be the sponsor per se of a particular capability.
Okay, this next question is from Lieutenant Colonel Will Lucas. He says, should the DAF end user choose to use Vault versus Envision or even say DoD's Advana? Are the same data sources being curated simultaneously on all of these platforms?
Oh man, yes. That's a good one.
$1 million question. Yes, exactly. An important question nonetheless.
Oh, it certainly is.
Yes.
There is duplicative efforts going on these platforms. I think that gets to, from my perspective, one of the very central reasons why we need a data mesh. Dr. Rousseau's question was getting at, is there a centralized location? Well, no. And that, I think, is the contributing factor to why there are duplicative efforts across, OSD, the Air Force, and, I'm sure I could probably throw in a couple MILDEPs and, DHA, DLA, you name it. So, yeah, I think that there are duplicative efforts. I think, the key is how they're being curated, and what stakeholder may be, the end user. So on Envision, they have a big A3 operations stakeholder. They're going to be focused on the operational aspects, whereas I mentioned Blade is on Advana. So, they may be looking at it from a logistics perspective. So that may be how the data is curated. So I think, solving the problem of a centralized location of these different data platforms and data that resides there, I think is really going to get after, stopping really the duplicative efforts that are occurring right now. Over.
Absolutely. I mean, that is part of our end states, is to have that, single source. It's an end state on a roadmap. It unfortunately doesn't happen overnight, especially when you have decentralized funding and execution of requirements. But we are working in earnest to get there, establishing governance processes, and starting to identify, who is the primary for certain authoritative data sources, and making sure that we're pointing users to those authoritative data sources. So more to come on that. Okay, this next question is from Catherine again, related to BYOT. She's wondering, do the tools need to be vetted and placed on the EPL, the DAF EPL?
They do not necessarily. So the vault does pretty much the CTF process for a particular tool, at least on Nipper. So we can get with you more. We can get maybe with you offline to talk more specifically about that. But there's a whole line of questioning that could this could open up a can of worms. So. But yes, the answer to your question is it doesn't necessarily have to be and on the APL, but being on the APL does help the business case, and that's part of some of the factors that we look at when we are looking at a particular tool. Over.
Whether or not it's on the APL or EPL would be one of the key factors in determining which one of the lanes you are starting at with the BYOT, correct?
Yes.
Yep, copy. All right, excellence from Catherine as well. And Catherine, if we'll field as many questions as we can, but if you want to have a deeper dive with the team, please absolutely do reach out. These are good questions from Catherine. She says, are there machine learning or AI trainable and executable tools being incorporated into Vault? I guess with the current use cases we have, are any of them fielding machine learning or other AI tools?
So I'll speak to I'll call it successful. If anybody from the test center here and feels differently, feel free to correct me. But we were actually able to run an LLM hackathon on our Databricks instance for the test center. I think I'm not sure on the numbers. I'd have to look at what the statistics were on number of folks, but I think there were, I want to say 12 teams that were all. I don't know how many clusters I spin up. I think there was 16. Yeah, there was 16 teams that actually were working to build test center LLM capability within the Vault Data Platform, and this was run back in mid August, and there were some pretty some successful results. We were able to show an LLM reducing an airman's job and reducing an airman's time spent on a particular task. I think the number was 33%, which is critical man hours that we could potentially buy down if we were to adopt some of these capabilities. Now, that gets us into the whole responsibility and how we're doing it, and we have to do that in the right, responsible way. So luckily we're partnered. Luckily we have the AI Directorate within us, and we have the chief responsible AI officer right within our office to help us, and vector us in the right way. So the short of it is we do have capabilities, Databricks, Dataiku, just to name a few that are available that are available on Vault, and we have run successful hackathons, using some pretty powerful tooling and models. Over.
Okay, and then there's a few questions about any type of overarching effort to combine platforms that are providing similar services or capabilities? And the short answer is yes. Right now, we are doing a business case analysis in conjunction with the FY26 Palm build. It's an investment review that looks at the big six and also the 150 plus other data platforms, I'll call them, that are out there, to where we have to make a recommendation on should we combine, what does the right number look like going forward in order to inform the Palm build. So that is something that we're doing right now and have to have done within the next few months. So okay, we're quickly running out of time here, but we'll field a few more questions before we wrap up. Lost my place. Okay, all right. Next question, which is a good question. Are there any standardization efforts for metadata across the big six? Sorry, are there any standardization efforts for metadata across the big six? How is the data quality being assessed and addressed?
So this would be a great question for Mr. Sanchez and his team.
Exactly what I was thinking.
But I will attempt to do him justice. So what we did a few, I want to say in the beginning of 2022, is we were working with, they were actually COS at the time, or COS, doesn't matter, Data Services Group. And we were working on what we call the Air Force Rosetta Stone. And the Air Force Rosetta Stone, we're actually, I think we're on like version, I want to say 17 or 18 of that. So we've, gone back and forth and really put a lot of thought into what those standardization topics are. Now, the key here is that none of this has been, quote, published from a memo or guidance perspective from the CDAO. So that is the gate that we're at. And but I think we're targeting that, and I'm sure Colonel Kehoe, you could probably address what timeline is and what priorities are and such. But that's where we are, and that's the metadata that we're basing the vaults metadata off of, and I expect that to trickle across the Department of the Air Force. Over.
Yeah, Jay, you hit it on the head, and probably a topic for future Innovation Connect. Mr. David Sanchez is our division chief for our data services and strategy team. And he's working on the enterprise data catalog, and of the 2,400 data sources, known data sources, identified data sources across the DAF. He is working to have those registered, and they will have minimum essential metadata applied to them. He's also working, we have minimum essential metadata that has been published by DoD. We're currently working to develop what the DAF requirements are on top of that, and we'll be publishing in the near future. We are currently working on establishing the charter for our data and AI governance fora. We have a board. Once the charter's published, we will have a board and a council, which will help in finalizing the requirements that will be established for the enterprise for minimum essential metadata. And then once it's a table slapped at the council level, then we will push it out for final 2-letter chord and then get it on the streets. The charter just finished 2-letter chord. We're adjudicating comments, and we're hoping to hold our first board, which will feed a council in the November timeframe, quickly followed by a council potentially in late November, early December. Of course, the holidays put a kink in that. So, but do know that we're working on that in earnest. We're working through the bureaucracy as fast as we can, and plan to get that on the streets soon. Okay, this next question from Gordon Taylor. Is there currently a customer resource manager, i.e. a CRM application available in Vault?
I think I would need a little more information on what exactly is being looked for there. If we're talking about something like a Salesforce, for example, their CRM application, the answer to that question would be no. If we're looking at it from like an IT service management perspective, the answer would be yes. we use ServiceNow for our help desk, and that is, currently, being used on the platform. Over.
Okay, all right. Thank you. The next question from Alex Payne. Saw edge computing on the roadmap. Can you expand on what that encompasses?
Yeah, that's a good question from Alex. So we've recognized that there's actually, I need to keep it quick. So on this topic, there's a lot that we could talk about. There's a capability out there called Advantage, and we're looking at being able to leverage that because we believe there's a lot of use cases that the Vault needs to get after in order for us to truly be a data platform. For example, we need to be able to do edge type of operations, edge analytics, things that are happening out in the field, and being able to capture that data and being able to federate that data to Vault so that leadership can be, informed quickly about what is happening out in the field, whether it be, in a classified way or something that perhaps is unclassified. That's the intent behind that, and we're looking at capabilities that will allow us to expand that into our portfolio.
Okay, thanks, Jay. All right, so I'm being given the hook by our behind the scene technicians that are running this, not just technicians, experts that are running this. So Colonel Parker, Mr. Roberts, thank you for your brief and for fielding the myriad of questions. There's many more questions that we weren't able to get to. But I'd say if you had a question and we didn't get to it, please feel reach out to us, and we'll follow up with you accordingly. If you are interested in getting started on Vault yourself, please do reach out to Colonel Parker or Jay Roberts, and they can get you started. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. We're grateful for your support for our DoD Innovators and Innovation Connect. We have several pioneering projects underway and anticipate featuring even more in the near future. One of those being the Enterprise Data Catalog that I think Mr. Sanchez will be able to talk to in the near future. So we invite you to join us for our next Innovation Connect that will occur on 8 November, including special presentations from our talk about a tongue twister for me, System of Systems Technology Integration Toolchain from Heterogeneous Electronic Systems, aka Stitches, the warfighting application team led by Dr. Jimmy Jones. To stay updated on upcoming events and registration information, please follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter, which is better known as X now, or formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. Approved videos of our past events are available on the Department of the Air Force CDAO YouTube page. We invite you to submit recommendations for future Innovation Connect topics to our DAF CDAO communications mailbox. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you again next month. And with that, CDAO out.